नवल किशोर जय गोपी चित चोर प्रभो जय जय माखन चोर जय जय माखन चोर। श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की, श्री रामचंद्र भगवान की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की। उपस्थित भगवत कथा अनुरागी पधारे हुए भक्त वृंद, इस सभा को परम सुशोभित करने वाले हमारे अंतर्राष्ट्रीय कृष्ण भावनामृत संघ इस्कॉन के वरिष्ठ भक्तगण, दूर दूर से, देश विदेश से, फेसबुक, यूट्यूब आदि के माध्यम से बड़ी भारी मात्रा में इस कथा का श्रवण करने वाले समस्त श्रोतागण,
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Gauranga. I extend my warm greetings and humble obeisances to all the senior Vaishnavas of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. I also extend my welcome to the viewers and devotees gathered on Zoom platform of YouTube and also Facebook. I extend my humble obeisances and warm greetings to the host family coming from London, Australia, and Nairobi, who have organized this beautiful Ram Katha in the loving memory of late Damji Devji Soni, late Kanji Damji Patni, and also Prabhudas Damji Patni. So I extend my greetings and warm welcome to Naveen Bhai and Ranjan Bain from London, the son and daughter-in-law to late Damji Devji Soni, Ramesh Bhai and Murli Bain, the son and daughter-in-law to late Damji Devji Soni, again from London. From Australia, Arvind Bhai and Indira Bain, the son and daughter-in-law to late Kanji Damji Patni, and from Nairobi, Shubha Bain, wife to late Prabhudas Damji Patni. I welcome each one of you to the fourth day Katha of this Bhagvatam Katha, the number being 304. Radhe Shyam.
नारद भक्ति सूत्र में श्री नारद मुनि कहते हैं,
in Narad Bhakti Sutra, Naraji says,
सत्संगम दुर्लभम और कदाचित सत्संग हो जाए तो अमोघम.
So Naraji goes on to say that satsang, which is company of saintly people, sadhus, is quite rare. It's easy to get things in the material world like wealth, house, fame, relations, but it's quite rare in this material world as per the version and vision of Naradji. If there is something which is really, really rare, then it is the company of sadhus, the saints, the devotees, and that of Vaishnavas. It's very rare an occurrence to have the company of Vaishnavas, saints, sadhus, and devotees. And fortunately, if you get to have the company of Vaishnavas, sadhus, saints, and devotees, it would be perhaps the best fortune that can happen to any individual. Just like an arrow from the sarang bow of Lord Sri Ram never misses its target. Similarly, on similar lines, in similar tunes, the company of sadhus, Vaishnavas, and saints will never go fruitless. It will always bear its fruit. Srila Prabhupada has presented a wonderful thought for 6th of August. So on this day, which is 6th of August, in a letter to Upendra, so by mistake I said 5th August, but it was actually 6th August, which I said as 5th. So on 6th of August 1970, in a letter to Upendra by Srila Prabhupada, you see, these are nectar words of Srila Prabhupada, which we would engage in understanding. You see, every day we shall begin our katha with the words and utterances of our Param Guru, Srila Prabhupada.
ये हमारा भगवत कथा का ये जो परिवार है, ये इस्कॉन परिवार जो है, ये पवित्र ब्रह्म मध्व गौड़ीय धारा जो है, ये एक परिवार के समान है.
Srila Prabhupada goes on to say that our society is like an extended big family. Our Zoom parivar is just like an extended big family. In Shastras, in the real sense of the term, it is said that those who are your family members are not actually your real family members.
प्रभु ना भक्तो मारे सगाने सबंदी अने छोटी ग्रंथि टूटी मारी मायानी बंदी एटले आँख मारी उघड़े त्या सीताराम देखूं अने धन्य मारू जीवन कृपाए विले. हमारे जूनागढ़ के संत नरसिंह मेहता ने कहा,
Saint Narsimha Mehta from Junagadh went on to say, the real relatives of ours are Vaishnavas, the devotees. So sometimes when relatives arrive at our home, we say that must you have a tea? So It's like you have tea, coffee, and all. So still, you people are good, and fortunately, place that you're offered tea and coffee. I have been to Rajasthan many a times, and in Rajasthan, basically, they offer opium, right? So the fact is, our relatives who engage ourselves in this manner actually leads us to doom. So Srila Prabhupada goes on to say that our Iskcon, our society is like an extended big family, and that our relations must be based on trust and affection. Our relations must be based on affection and love. So Prabhupada goes on to say that Vaishnavas are our real relatives, and the base and the foundation, the platform of this relationship is trust and love, affection and trust. So a Vaishnava on the basis of love and affection and trust gets related to another Vaishnava. Otherwise, if I talk about myself, what is the relationship between you and me with respect to, you see, the clan or family, but the relationship of you and me, the relationship amongst each one of us is based on trust and faith and love. So you bestow faith upon me, trust upon me, that I would not tell a lie or a wrong. And I have a faith and trust upon you that you would not sleep in the katha. So it's actually love and affection of each one of us sitting across the platform towards each other, that on the basis of which we have cultivated a relationship with each other. And that way we end up becoming relatives to each other. And hence, because we are related to each other, we have a relationship with each other. Therefore, we should give up upon the feeling and emotion of fights and conflicts. So, in case the feeling of fight and conflicts has to be given up, then what ideally should we be doing? We as Vaishnavas should we be doing? We should be attempting to take the movement of Iskcon forward by using our intellect. So, you see, what is Amit Narayan Prabhu doing every day? That you should note down this WhatsApp number and things like that. Perhaps you might have, learned by heart his statements. Imagine when we're traveling in a flight, and that air hostess makes the announcement that there are two doors to the front, two at the rear, and that there are exit windows, that we must wear the seat belt. All of us are aware of it. But still, the announcement is very, very necessary when you are on board the flight. So, you see, Prabhupada goes on to say in this letter to Upendra on 6th of August 1970, imagine that perhaps Srila Prabhupada is writing this letter to you, and that Srila Prabhupada goes on to say that you must use your intellect to take this movement of Iskcon forward, to take the movement of love and affection amongst the Vaishnavites who are relative to each other forward. So if I simplify it further, try to understand that when we go on to choose the company and stay in the company of Vaishnavites, we must use our intellect. Flooded by the emotions and sentiments, we should not go for the company of Vaishnavite. Prabhupada says that you must keep your mind wide open. Your intellect must be quite open and receptive to see that the Vaishnavite whose company I am seeking, is he a Vaishnavite to be fit enough to be called as a Vaishnavite? Similarly, before abandoning a Vaishnavite, the intellect must be applied. Sometimes some people in an emotional fit, people take on the company of a Vaishnavite, and also in a fit of emotion, they abandon the company of a Vaishnavite. But Prabhupada says, while adopting the company of a Vaishnavite, and also by abandoning, also when abandoning the company of a Vaishnavite, you should you be applying the intellect. So you see, the soul is bound. And the individual doesn't like these bondages. But poor in the material world, the individual does not know that this bondage or relationship with one Vaishnavite will give him deliverance from this material world. Only gradually, when you progress in spiritual life, you see, the individual goes on to abandon the company of a Vaishnavite, abandons the Iskcon. And it is at that point of time that Srila Prabhupada says that you should apply your mind and intellect. So Prabhupada simply said that you should apply your intellect, but then the question is, how do you apply your intellect, use your intellect and mind? So me, who's a slave to Srila Prabhupada, has attempted to develop upon this further. So the statement or understanding or research goes like this. So there's a Sanskrit sloka running at the bottom of the screens and its English version at the top. The second half of the second line, let us first understand that.
मंगल आत्नोति संतों का संग क्या मंगल नहीं करता थोड़ा बुद्धि
The company of Vaishnavites can bring forward, can bring into reality any amount of auspiciousness. Just because somebody said something about Vaishnavites and company, but you see, Srila Prabhupada says that you should apply your mind and intellect. Just because some false ego has been heard should not lead you to abandon the company of Vaishnavites. Srila Prabhupada says that you should assess that what all do you gain because of the company of a Vaishnavite. So if you compare what you get, in comparison to that, hurting of the false ego is just minuscule. So you see, this sloka says there is indefinite amount of auspiciousness which is brought about by enjoying or staying in the company of Vaishnavites. So company of Vaishnavites bring about indefinite amounts of auspiciousness. So what kind of auspiciousness does the company of Vaishnavites bring forward? Let us try to understand.
खैर तो कुमति मति माने बुद्धि
So mati means mind or buddhi. So if it's like, so let's say if you do not have any intellect at all, or that your intellect has fallen, your intellect has degraded, or that you have become evil-minded because of the association of Vaishnavites due to company of Vaishnavites, you go on to develop a positive mind and positive intellect. And also due to the company of Vaishnavites, what happens? The heart, so I told you day before yesterday, Man, Buddhi, Chitta, and Ahankar, they're all neighbors to each other. So in case we want to purify our minds and hearts, you see, the heart goes on to become tender and fresh and gets purified. Further, it is said in the shloka, Ag means sins. Whatever may be the number of sins of this birth, of the previous life, etc., all of them gets exterminated. So, because of association and company of Vaishnavites, all our sins of the present birth, of the births, previous ones, all the accumulated sins gets exterminated. And further, what happens due to the company or association of Vaishnavites, so what happens due to company and association of Vaishnavites, people of the material world gets on to enjoy the mercy and blessings of the Lord. So you see, in this age of Kali Yuga, you see, many people are getting engaged into meat eating and sinning. So because of the association of Vaishnavites, mercy and blessings is bestowed upon the people of the material world. So heart becomes tender. So when heart becomes tender, perhaps you would have considered emotions towards other beings also. Perhaps because of this tender heart, you would not kill animals and you would stop meat eating.
बचपन में जब छोटे थे तो नीति सिखाई जाती थी, आप लोग सीखे होंगे.
You see, when you're aiming for higher benefits, smaller losses should be ignored. You see, when an elephant is about to get the big boulder of jaggery, so some particles of jaggery falls down, so the elephant is least worried about that. Smaller particles of jaggery falling down. So similarly, when you get into the company of getting yourself associated with the Vaishnavites, you see, you should not be worried a bit about some degree of false ego that might be hurt or something of that sort. So therefore, we should look forward to engage ourselves in the association of Vaishnavites and Sadhvites. And Srila Prabhupada went on to provide a wonderful arrangement and institution for the people of the material world, that they may be sitting, that they would be able to sit under one roof and may also understand the wonderful principles enshrined in Bhagvat Gita and Sri Ramayan. So let us all attempt to make best use of the arrangement and society established by Srila Prabhupada. We all are engaged in listening to Kevat, of Ramayan in the loving memory of Devji Damji, organized by a Patni family. So, in the last Katha, in the last session, we were talking about the context, the event wherein Lord Rama is asking Kevat to bring forward the boat towards him so that he, along with Sita Maya and Lakshmi ji, can cross the river. But Kevat has refused to do that, saying that, "Oh Lord Ram, I understand you. I know your essence. I'm completely aware about who you are and what you are." So, as if a question is put forward by Shri Ram, Lord Ram, that how is it possible that you know me? Okay, you tell me, what all do you know about me? So imagine if Kevat, after having explained that he knows the essence of Lord Ram, then Lord Ram questions that, who is your guru? that you've understood so much. Kevat answers that Lakshmanji is my guru. And that further shocks both Lord Rama and Lakshmanji, that how is it possible that Lakshmanji is the guru of Kevatji? So Kevat is now explaining that how Lakshmanji is the guru. So the wife of Kevat is sending her husband to the banks of Ganga, that go to the banks of Ganga. What is the trust? What is the guarantee of tomorrow to come?
और उनको रोते हुए देखकर लक्ष्मण जी वहां पर आए और लक्ष्मण जी ने निवेदन किया। लक्ष्मण जी ने कहा, लक्ष्मण जी ने बहुत सुंदर ज्ञान प्रदान किया निषाद राज को।
So Nishad Rajgu, who had been lamenting and is very nervous at the banishing of Lord Shri Ram to forest, and it is at that point that Lakshmanji is giving pravachans, delivering pravachans to Nishad Rajgu, which is being overheard by this keyword standing behind the tree, who from one side is looking at the beautiful face, illuminated face of Lord Shri Ram, and from the other side, he's becoming a witness to the pravachans being delivered by Lakshmanji towards Nishad Rajgu. So Lakshmanji, in a very poised and peaceful manner, is delivering his sermon to Nishad Raj. So Lakshmanji is setting an example before us that before preaching, we first need to develop and establish a relationship with the person to whom you're delivering your sermon. So when Lakshmanji goes on to address Nishad Raj as Bhrata or O brother, so he's attempting to establish a relationship with Nishad Raj Guhu. So Lakshmanji says, O Nishad Raj, you are my brother, and hence I am explaining this to you that in this material world, in this world, you cannot put the blame or onus of your challenges of life to somebody else. Why? Because be it happiness or problems or challenges, all are reaped by us only because of our own deeds. Further, Lakshmanji goes on to say, and it is there at the bottom of your screens, what Lakshmanji is telling to Nishadraj Guhu.
संपत्ति विपत्ति कर करुकालो संसार का परम सत्य आज लक्ष्मण जी
The ultimate truth or reality of the world is being delivered by Lakshmanji to each one of us by the medium of Nishad Raj Guhu. So the union of husband and wife, or that of children and parents, or the breaking away or achieving higher facilities, or some good thing happening in the life, man means something bad, some misfortune happening in life, some favorable events or some unfavorable events. So meeting or getting distance, enjoyment or fun, or suffering or misfortune, favor or being against. This is all just an illusion in this world. It is because of illusion or misunderstanding, lack of knowledge. Everything is illusory. So in this material world, association or getting separated, enjoyment, misfortune, favor, or events against are nothing but illusion. And all these things are nothing but the hook of death. So life, death, property, challenges, everything is determined by time and problem of this material world. And hence, O Nishadraj, you should not worry looking at the state of Lord Sri Ram, and you should not weep, because whatever, be it good or happiness, in this material world is nothing but an illusion. Further, Lakshmanji goes on to say, Dharni means the goddess earth, Dhanu means wealth, Pur means Nagar, Parivaru, Swarg or heaven or hell. So an individual exhibits and conducts his behavior for all this. So those who are engaged in all this in the material world is entangled in attachment. So people have this desire that the house, the wealth, the property, it must belong to them. It is all happening because of attachment. Because even if you go on to collect all this, you will not be able to get and achieve the Lord. Lakshmanji goes on to give a very good example. Lakshmanji goes on to establish a wonderful example. In the dream, if you become a king or a prime minister or president, so in the dream, a person, if becomes wealthy, or that he becomes a poor person, or in dream if somebody becomes the king of the heaven, but the moment that person wakes up, so the moment he wakes up, there is no loss or gain. So be it you becoming a king or a poor person or a pauper, or even that you become the king of heaven in the dream, the real fact is it does not bring any benefit or any significant achievement to you, because once you wake up, you realize it was all unreal. Similarly, you must understand what the real world. So similarly, in this material world, if you are becoming rich or poor, or that you become the king, it makes no sense. Because this entire world is illusory. It is just like a dream. The world is nothing but a dream. And Lakshmanji says, so Lakshmanji says, Oh Nishadraj, you should not be upset. You should not be angry, because the world is just like a dream. So just as whatever you see in the dream is unreal and cannot come to reality, similarly, this world is also unreal and illusory. Hence, you should not unnecessarily take the developments and events of this world to heart and start blaming someone or the other. You should not be blaming anyone. You see, most of us are engaged in blaming and putting onus on one or the other. We should not put a blame and onus to anyone, because this world is just like a dream. So Lakshmiji goes on to say that this entire material world is sleeping in the dream of attachment. We all are living in dreams. We all are living in the dream of attachment of this world. Living life with the identity of material world is just like a dream. Usually 99% of the people stay in the world of dreams. And so many people goes on to see so many types of dreams. So see, some members, devotees who are sitting amongst us, so thinking that I am a doctor or an engineer is nothing but just like a dream. So those who are devotees or yogis never stay in the life of dream. Staying with the titles of material world is living the life of a dream, but a devotee always stay in the state of awareness. And he is least worried with this material world and the dream of the material world. So, the final understanding that we must have is, what is it which is called as dream? So, then what is being awakened? Then Lakshmanji goes on to say, so who can be called as awakened? Lakshmanji gives the definition.
जीव जब जागा जब सब विषय विलास विरागा जब सब विषय.
So Lakshmanji now goes on to explain who can be called to be staying in the state of being awakened or awake. The worldly titles is just like sleeping. Then what is the state of being awakened? Lakshmanji goes on to say, so you can assume that an individual is awakened when the person develops and evolves over and above the sense objects of this world. He develops detachment towards the objects of material world. In that state, he can be considered to have been awakened. So it's like if you identify yourself with the worldly titles, with the worldly things, you would be said to have been living in the state of dream. And on the other hand, considering yourself as the slave to the Lord and offering him your devotional service can be called to be a state of awakened. So an individual can be considered to have been in an awakened state only when he is free from the sense objects, from the subjects of the material world. So in that context, somebody might have raised a question. So it's like while we're discussing this, there might be a curiosity or a question. If the people of the entire world are sleeping into the dream, then how can they be awakened? So the answer, probable answer, could be how do we awaken such people? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given a wonderful answer as to how to awaken the individual who is in the dream of this material world. I want each one of you to sing along with me.
गौरा चांद बोले जीव जागो जीव जागो गौरा चांद बोले कत निद्रा जाओ रे माया पिशाचीर को ले कत निद्रा जाओ रे माया पिशाचीर को ले। श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु कहते हैं,
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes on to explain,
संसार में भौतिक उपाधियों को लेकर सो रहे हैं,
we all are sleeping in the material world, adopting the material world titles. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came upon this material world almost 450 years before to awaken each one of us. So, question can be, were we sleeping under a tree that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to awaken us? No. In fact, we had been sleeping even while we were in the state of awaken also.
भजिबो बलिया ऐसे संसार भीतरे बोलिया रहीले तुम्हें अविद्यार भरे रहीले तुम्हें श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु कहते हैं कि जब
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes on to say that when you were in the womb of your mother, then in the womb of your mother, we all had promised to the Lord that, oh Lord, we are in extremely troubled state of mind in the womb. Please allow us to come out of this place. And we had all committed to the Lord that sooner we come out of this womb, I shall engage in devotional service. Bhajibo means I shall engage in devotional service and sing the bhajans. And having committed that, we came into this material world. And the moment we entered into this material world, we forgot everything and we got lost. We got attracted into the dream of this material world. Now, once that we have gone into the dream of this material world, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears and he goes on to say,
बंधु आर हे जीव, तुम्हारे लिए ही मैंने अवतार लिया है।
O Jeev, O individual, only because of you I have taken this incarnation. I have appeared. And without me, and other than me, who else do you have as your friend? Means a real friend or somebody who knows our real interests. It is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is attempting to get across that he has appeared here only for your benefit, for your interests, and that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared with a medicine with him. And what is that medicine?
औषधि माया नाशिवार लागी, औषधि माया हरि नाम महामंत्र लयो तुमी मांगी, महामंत्र लयो तुमी मांगी। मैं आप लोगों के लिए स्वप्न से जगाने के लिए, भवसागर भव रोग से मुक्त करने के लिए एक औषधि लेकर आया हूं।
So in order to make you free from the bondage of this material world, in order to awaken you from the dream of this material world into reality, I have brought a medicine, and with the help of this medicine, the illusion which has surrounded you, the sleep of illusion that you have engaged into, will help you. This medicine will help you kill that power of illusion. And the medicine is Harinam, or the chanting of Mahamantra. So imagine if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would have been asked, then what is the cost of this medicine? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes on to say that the only price of this medicine is that you have to ask for it, you have to beg for it, you have to desire for it. And therefore Thakur Bhaktivinod also goes on to say,
भक्ति विनोद प्रभु चरणे पड़िया। गाइए से हरि नाम मंत्र लैल मांगिया। हम सब मोह रूपी निशा में सोए हुए हैं।
We all are in the deep sleep of attachment. We all are leading the life of dream. In order to come out of this dream, in order to come out, emerge out of this night of attachment, Thakur Bhaktivinod goes on to say that chant the holy name of the Lord, chant the Mahamantra.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Sri Krishna Chandra Bhagwan ki, Shri Ramachandra Bhagwan ki. तो इस प्रकार
And hence, in this manner,
लक्ष्मण जी कहते हैं
Lakshmanji goes on to address Nishad Rajgu that
मोह रूपी निद्रा से हमें बाहर आना चाहिए.
we must emerge
और
out
हम कैसे आएंगे?
of the sleep of attachment. And how shall we come out? By way of chanting of Mahamantra. Chanting of the Mahamantra brings about peace at heart, and with the help of this peace, the attachment shall dissolve, and the time attachment dissolves, and in such a state, the heart will develop the love towards the lotus feet of the Lord. Only when the feelings of attachment gets dissolved and disappear, that the heart shall develop attachment and love towards the lotus feet of the Lord. And oh my friend Nishadraj, who? So my friend Nishadraj, who? Only when this happens, that the ultimate goal of coming to this material world, so the ultimate objective, the ultimate goal for this body in the material world is meant for developing the love, affection, and devotion towards the lotus feet of Lord Shri Ram. Now imagine at this state, if Nishadraj Guhu might develop a question that why should it so happen that one must develop the love, affection, and devotion towards the lotus feet of Shri Ram, who is Lord Ram? Then Lakshmanji questioned that Lord Ram is the Supreme Personality himself. So Lord Ram is somebody who cannot be understood by everyone, who cannot be understood by the material intellect. So Ram is someone who has no end to him, who has no beginning.
जो सभी कारणों के कारण है.
Lord Ram is the reason of all reasons. And Lord Ram is beyond comparison. There cannot be any comparison to Lord Ram. There cannot be any title which can be given to Lord Ram. Every title falls short before Lord Ram. Lord Ram is all perfect. There is no issue or deformity. That is Lord Ram. Now Kevat, standing behind the tree, is listening to everything that is being delivered upon by Lakshmanji to Nishad Rajgu. Nishad says to Lakshmanji, if Lord Ram is Brahma, he is the Param element, he is Avigat and Alak and Anadi, then why such Lord appeared on this material world? Because from the time Lord Ram has appeared, he has been facing so many troubles. If he is Lord unto himself, if he is Brahma, then why at all did he appear on this material world? just to be troubled, worried, and face problems. So Lakshmiji goes on to now explain the reasons behind the appearance of Lord Ram onto this material world. Very beautifully, Lord Lakshmanji goes on to explain the reasons behind the appearance of Lord Ram.
सुनत मिटहि जग जान। राम इस धरती पर क्यों प्रकट लिए, क्यों अवतार लिए, तो सब 5 कारण बताते हैं।
So Lakshmiji goes on to elaborate 5 reasons as to why Lord Ram appeared on this earth. The first reason that Lord Ram appeared on this earth for his devotees, to bring happiness and pleasure to his devotees. The second reason is that Lakshmanji explains is to lessen the burden and problems of Mother Earth. The third reason that Lakshmanji explains behind the appearance of Lord Ram on this earth was that Lord Ram appears on this earth to save the Brahmins, because Brahmin is just like. And the fourth reason is to save the mother cow. And the fifth reason that Lakshmanji explains behind the appearance of Sri Ram is demigods, to establish the favors of demigods. So, to establish the favors of all these, Lord Ram appears onto this material world. So now let us all shoot a question to Lakshmanji.
शबरी आदि धरती का, ब्राह्मण का, गाय का और देवताओं का, तो भाई हमारा क्या होगा, तेरा क्या होगा?
So let's say, having understood like what Lakshmanji establishes the reasons behind the appearance of Lord Ram, then what should happen to us? What about us? So you see, in the first line here, Lakshmanji has talked about everyone else. And for people like you and me sitting on the Zoom platform, it is being said in the second line. Second line, which is there before your screens.
चरित्र जो लीला करते हैं, सुनत उसे यदि कोई सुनता है, चाहे जूम पर, चाहे यूट्यूब पर, चाहे फेसबुक पर, सुनत यदि कोई राम जी के चरित्र को सुन लेता है तो मिट ही जग जंजाल। तो ये जगत की जंजाल में जो
if somebody listens to the story about the form of Lord Ram, who when appears on this material world, it gives him the freedom from the bondage of this material world. So listening to the Katha of Shri Ram, the pastimes of Lord Ram, can give deliverance from the bondage of this material world. And hence, we all should engage ourselves into listening the pastimes of the Lord so that we can be free from the dream, from the sleep of the dream of this material world. So this is how Lakshmanji, in a very poised and peaceful state of mind and heart, is explaining all these things to Nishadraj Guhu. And interestingly, it was this pastime and story of Lord Ram being explained by Lakshmanji to Nishadraj Guhu that Kevat developed love and passion towards Sri Ram. And that is how he went on to understand the essence of Lord Ram. And that is the reason Kevat exclaims and makes a strong claim that he has gone on to understand Lord Shri Ram. And hence, in this manner, Lakshmanji went on to explain all these things to Nishad Rajgu, and this is how Kevat went on to also develop the understanding of the essence of Lord Shri Ram. So now let us come back to the context, to the event where Kevatji is having a conversation with Lord Ram, Lakshmanji and Sita Maya. So let's see, Ramji says, Lord Ram says, okay, I understood, I accept that Lakshman had been your guru, I accept. So you talked about 9 essences, I understand and I accept. But then what is the 10th essence that you are claiming, that you have understood about me? So let's come to the next chaupai of Ramayan. So Kevat says, oh Prabhu, the 10th essence that I know about you is that there is such a dust at your lotus feet. So the dust which is there at the lotus feet of yours, O Ram, is so powerful that it can transform anything that it touches upon, that it can transform even a rock or stone into a human being. So Lord Ram perhaps would have questioned Kevat, okay, how do you know that it can transform a stone into a human being? So Kevat ji goes on to say that, oh Lord, I have the proof and evidence for this. And then Kevat ji goes on to explain what is there at the bottom of your screen. So, O Lord, I have heard about this, that after having protected the Yagna of Vishwamitra ji, that on your way back, when on your way to Janakpur, you went on to notice a stone, a big boulder. You asked your Guru Vishwamitra, that what is this stone all about? Oh Gurudev, what is this boulder doing in this forest? Whose ashram is this? This ashram belongs to whom? Then Vishwamitra went on to explain that, O Raghav, O Ram, this is the wife of Rishi Gautam. She is in deep state of meditation. Why don't you go and liberate her from her meditation and give her the freedom from all bondage? So somebody had even questioned to Ahilya that, oh Ahilya, you're sitting like a stone in a rock on the path. Won't you be pushed aside? Won't you be hit by people's feet? Then Ahilyaji said that not to worry, that perhaps someday I would be hit by the feet of Lord Shri Ram. Lord Ram touched the stone with the feet, wherein some of the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord touched the stone. Strong illumination appeared, and from that illumination, strong light, a female appeared. A beautiful female appeared. She wanted to speak, but her throat was coaxed, and she was full of tears. So, O Lord Ram, says Kevat, that, O Ram, I know the essence behind you, that the dust of your lotus feet can transform a stone into a female. Imagine perhaps Lord Ram would say that, okay, but that Ahilya had become a stone due to a Norman. Then Kevat replied that, oh Lord, who knows that what if this boat of mine had also become a boat out of an omen? Now Lakshmanji was in complete state of outrage and was getting very agitated and said, oh Kevat, your boat is made of wood, while the dust of the lotus feet transforms the stone into a human being, while your boat is made of wood. At this, perhaps Kevat would have replied, oh Lakshmanji, I know, that's fine, but you see, the stone is quite tough and hard, but my boat is made of wood, which is softer and tender than stone, and it stays in water because of it. It is further softened. So for sure, this will transform into a human being when the dust of the lotus feet of Shri Ram touches my boat.
मुनि धरनी हो जाई, मेरी नौका मुनि की धरनी, धरनी माने पत्नी, घरनी, सॉरी प्रभु आपके चरण रज स्पर्श होने से मेरी नौका मुनि की.
So Lord, if you will put your feet onto my boat, the dust of your lotus feet, my boat will transform into the wife of the Rishi. So the emotion is that if it becomes my wife, then it's fine. But then if the boat becomes the wife of a saint or a Rishi, she will go back to that Rishi, then I would be at a complete loss, says Kevat. In Ramand, in Anand Ramayan, which is in Sanskrit. See, Anand Ramayan is in Sanskrit. It is mentioned that in Anand Ramayan, Kevat says that already I have a wife back at home. What shall I do with the other lady, which will surely come into being after the dust of your lotus feet touches my boat? Further, Kevat says, oh Lord, there's another problem. So the problem is that, so, oh Lord, it is only this boat with the help of which I am feeding my family, I am fending my family. And without knowing, other than knowing how to row the boat, how to ferry the passengers in the boat, I do not know any other business. I'm only capable in rowing the boat. So, oh Lord, the moment the feet of yours touches my boat, the dust of your lotus feet will transform my boat into a woman. And in that sense, you see, I would be scrapped off. I would be devoid of my only source of livelihood. So, oh Lord, please look somebody else, but excuse me. So, imagine, perhaps at this juncture, Lord Ram goes on to question Kevat that, oh Kevat, when shall you allow me to set my foot on your boat? When shall you allow me to board myself on your boat? So Kevat replies, oh Lord Shri Ram, just in case, you definitely want to get across the river, then should you allow me to wash your lotus feet? Once I wash your lotus feet by my own hands, I get the confirmation, I am satisfied that nothing shall happen to me, that then shall I allow you to sit on my boat. So perhaps Lord Ram would have realized at this juncture that, oh Kevat, you want to wash my lotus feet? Then Kevat said, yes, oh Lord, allow me to wash your lotus feet.
दो चाहे देर भले होने दो सरकार गंगा पार मैं उतारूंगा नहीं। लोक में बहुत सुंदर भजन गाए जाते हैं, पहले पग धोने दो चाहे देर भले होने दो सरकार गंगा पार मैं उतारूंगा नहीं।
So Kevat says that first allow me to wash your lotus feet. Only then I shall let you cross the river in my boat. Pay attention to the words of the line which is before you on the screens. That, oh Lord, should you certainly want to get across the river, should you certainly want to go across the river, you should allow me, you should order me, you should command me to wash your lotus feet. Kevat is not claiming that I will wash your lotus feet. Rather, Kevat wants to express that Lord Ram should say or order and issue a command, oh Kevat, you should wash my lotus feet. Lord Ram says, oh Kevat, I have not got somebody, no one so far, who would say that, oh Ram, you issue me an order that I should be washing the feet of Lord Ram. You see, washing the lotus feet of the Guru, you see, is a fundamental right of yours to wash the lotus feet of your Guru. It shall never so happen that saints or Guru would never ask by themselves. And if somebody says, perhaps, you see, they would have no sense of respect or no sense of the Shastric knowledge. So Kevat is kind of asking Lord Ram that, Lord Ram, you should issue me the order and command that your feet be washed by me. So perhaps Lord Ram would have been telling to Kevat that it has never so happened earlier that in my clan we have ordered anyone to wash our lotus feet. So Kevat would have perhaps answered at this juncture that maybe those people who have themselves washed the lotus feet had their own selfish motives. But here, it is not my selfish motive. It is basically your interest which is at stake, that you have to cross the Ganga. So you should order me to wash your lotus feet. So Kevat is kind of getting the order issued from the Lord. Why? Because there's a huge, deep meaning to this. So the deep meaning to this is that this Kevat clan, this Kevat group is considered a lowly placed group. So for this clan, for this group, that it should not so happen that people would say later that Kevat went on to claim the right of washing the lotus feet of the Lord by himself. And that is the reason Kevat says, or Kevat wants Lord to issue him the order and command to wash the feet of Lord Ram. See, in the temples which are run on the Vedic principles, even to this day, the practice of carrying water to the temple is only exercised by the people of this clan of Kevat. So the water which is required by the Lord is only brought by the people of Kevat caste. And the evidence to this is provided in this line. So that is what Kevat says, that he wants Lord Ram to issue the order and command. So the meaning, the underlying meaning of this line is that ensuring the command be coming from the Lord, Kevat went on to get liberation not only for himself but also the generations to come. You see, he cleared the path for all generations to come to get liberation and reach Vaikuntha. So perhaps if at this juncture, Lord Ram would have said that the boat is just like a human life. In our Vedas and Shastras, the life of an individual is called as a boat. So perhaps if Lord Ram says that this life is just like a boat, and if liberation is attained by the boat, then what happens? Even the So Kevat says, Kevat says, I do not worry about liberation, but I am only worried about the boat of devotion. Very beautifully, a poet has written.
मुक्ति छुपाए न जिसको मैं उसे बंधन कहूंगा जो मरण को जन्म समझे मैं उसे जीवन कहूंगा अर्थात भगवान में लीन हो जाना भगवान का
developing attachment towards the Lord, understanding the essence of the Lord. So Kevat is not looking forward for liberation. Kevat says, O Lord, kindly issue me the order and command that I should wash your lotus feet. Kevat wants to wash the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. So dust here represents Rajogun. So by the devotion of Ganga water, so the water of Ganga here is actually the devotion, the water of devotion that I would wash the Rajogun. So basically, if we apply to our lives, that devotion has the power to wash aside our attachment to Rajogun. So Kevat says, O Lord, issue me the command that I wash your lotus feet. So there are two things, washing of the lotus feet of the Lord. Washing of the lotus feet. So there are two things that you must understand over here. So when an individual washes his feet, so what happens? So when an individual washes the feet, it is called as washing of the feet. But when many persons together washes the feet together, this is called as charan pakharna. So generally when people wash the lotus feet, generally when people wash the feet, it is only called as the washing of the feet. But when the feet are washed, so when a relationship is established and then the feet are washed, this is called as charan pakharna. So perhaps perhaps if Lord Ram says that, is there any way other than washing the feet? Then Kevat says, no, Prabhu, there is no other way, because if you touch it without me washing the lotus feet of yours, then for sure it would become a female. And if that lady goes to my home, then my existing wife would say that instead of ferrying the people in the boat across the river, you brought another wife, another female. Then perhaps if at this juncture Lakshmanji would have intervened, that instead of making your wife understand, you're making Lord Ram understand this.
उस पत्नी तत्व को समझाना बड़ा कठिन है, भगवान से भी ज्यादा कठिन है। इतना सुनकर राम और लक्ष्मण खूब हंसने लगे। कवितावली में वर्णन है कि भगवान राम ने पूछा केवट और कोई उपाय है? केवट ने कहा एक उपाय है, यही घाट तिथोरिक दूर अहे कटिलो जल थाह दिखाइयो जू। प्रभु इस घाट से थोड़ा सा दूर जाओगे ना तो कटिलो जल, कटी तक मतलब कमर तक जल है और आपको तैरना नहीं है तो आप चलकर तीनों चले जाओ। ओह, मतलब दूसरा चांस है? बोले हाँ, यहाँ से एक दूर घाट है, वहां पर कमर तक जल है और उस जल में चलकर गंगा पार कर दो। तो भगवान रामचंद्र ने, कवितावली में वर्णन है, भगवान रामचंद्र ने कहा तो केवट एक काम करो ना, हमारे साथ चलो और हमको दिखा दो वो घाट कहां पर है। केवट कहता है मैं पागल हो गया हूं, अभी अभी सुबह हुई है और अभी अभी सुबह हुई है तो लोगों का आना जाना शुरू होगा और लोग नौका में बैठेंगे, हम पार कराएंगे, और आप यदि उस घाट से जाने लगे तो सब लोग उस घाट को देख लेंगे और फिर सब लोग चलकर ही गंगा पार करेंगे, हमारी नौका में कोई नहीं बैठेगा, हमारा धंधा तो बंद हो जाएगा। तो प्रभु मैं मूर्ख नहीं हूं, यदि आपको वहां से चलकर जाना है तो शाम।
So Kevat says, no, this is the morning time and people might just be coming, and if people observes you going across the river from that shallow water bank, then why would anyone take my services? So wait till the evening, till it gets dark, and then perhaps I would take you to that region.
राम जी कहते हैं ठीक है केवट, तुम मेरे पग धोना चाहते हो तो मेरे पग धोने के बाद तो तुम डाउट नहीं करोगे, पग धोने के बाद तो शंका नहीं करोगे। जब राम जी इस प्रकार
So at this juncture, you see, Lord Ram agrees that, okay, if you wash my feet, then that would be okay with you. At this juncture, the son of Kevat, comes and intervenes that, oh father, these people do not trust us. Let's go back. We're not interested to let them sit in our boat. And it is not just the lotus feet, but also their hand, which might have some magical powers. Oh father, just in case the dust of their lotus feet transforms the stone into a female, even their hands can do miraculous things, because when he touched the bow, it was broken into pieces. And if his hand touches our boat, then the boat also turns into pieces. And at this juncture, Lakshmiji was completely agitated that this father was so heavily a burden on my mind, and now comes the son. So perhaps now both Lord Ram and Lakshmiji are contemplating, we should allow him to wash the lotus feet because we need to cross the river. So you see what a wonderful underlying principle is getting established, that in order to reap the real benefit of devotion and bhakti, some risk is needed. So in a way, Kevat is attempting to convince the son that, oh son, we must take some risk and let them, come on board our boat when they're allowing us to wash their feet. So the principle that is being attempted by Kevat to be established is, when we want to move on the path of devotion, we have to come across certain risks. This is what he's trying to convince his son, that okay, if they're allowing to wash their lotus feet, after having washed the lotus feet, we should allow them to come on board our boat. You see, further, let us understand the chaupai further, which is there on your screens.
जब लगी न पायऊं तारी हो, तब लगी न तुलसी दास नाथ, कृपाल पारुयु तारी हो. केवट कहता है,
so Kevat goes on to say,
मेरे चरण धो लेने के बाद और कोई चार्जेस तो नहीं होगा. कभी कभी लोग पूछते ना, भाई तुम्हारी मजदूरी इतनी, उसके बाद और कोई एक्स्ट्रा पैसा तो.
Lord Ram would have asked, so after having washed my feet, I hope there are no hidden charges. So after having washed my feet, there's no need perhaps to wash anything else. Now, Kevat goes on to say, Kevat says, oh Lord, I will wash your feet. I will not just wash your lotus feet. I will take you on my shoulders, and by carrying you on my shoulders, I would help you to come on board my boat. Now Lakshmanji lost all his patience. That so far he had been talking about washing the lotus feet. Now he is talking about carrying the Lord on the shoulders to make him sit on the boat. Now Kevat says, you see, if I wash the lotus feet and he puts his feet on the land, then again dust would be there. Again I would be required to wash. So Lord Ram says, fine, you wash my feet and then you carry me on the shoulder and make me enter your boat. Then if you do that, after that I hope you won't take much of the time to help us cross the river. You see, in India it so happens, to make more of fare, the auto walas and the auto rickshaws go on to take a longer route. That's what happens in India with auto drivers and rickshaws. So to this, Kevat answers, oh Lord, what are you talking? I am not concerned about the fare. I do not need any fare. I won't charge you anything. There's nothing that I need as a fare to ferry you across the river. There's nothing that money is involved here. So Lord Ram explains, oh, you're not interested to take any charge to ferry us across the river. Why is it so that you do not need any charge or any charges to ferry us across the river? So why should I not be taking the fare from you? Because number one, Devi Kakai has left you with nothing to be given to me as the fare. Secondly, I won't charge you anything as a fairy charge because you are our king and I am your subject. A subject cannot claim the charges from its master. And thirdly, O Lord Ram, you're quite evolved an individual. You're quite a detached an individual. And we won't charge those people who are detached. I do not need anything from you. You see, devotees, India is a great country. Its culture is immensely great. If I talk about myself, I am not an exalted or established saint or a sadhu, but many people are aware in India that we are engaged in Bhagavad Prachar. So whenever and wherever we go in India, nobody charges me. Whenever I go to a doctor, he doesn't charge me. He doesn't even make me sit in a queue. It's my experience. I am not a saint. Still, I say I am not a saint. But in India, India is still very rich to offer to saints and sadhus, always ready. I would also place a request to you that if a saint or a sadhu comes at your door, do not charge him. Do not take any money from him. Just like Kevat did not charge Lord Ram for getting him across the river. Some other Acharya in his commentary looked at this sloka in a different way and said that Kevat is actually threatening that, oh Lord, you should tell me that I should wash your lotus feet, and if you do not issue me that order, then by force I shall wash your lotus feet, and by force I shall carry on my shoulder, and I shall make you sit on the boat, and now I will not let you deboard the boat. And hence in this manner, Kevat places his request before the Lord. Now, assuming that if Lord Ram would have said to Kevat, what is the guarantee that you won't ask me for the ferry charge? What is the assurance? So, it is answered in the second line.
बोले मोई राम राउरी और आन दशरथ शपथ. केवट ने बहुत बड़ी बात कह दी.
Kevat goes on to establish a very beautiful thought that I take a vow in the name of Sri Ram and Sri Dashrath ji. So Kevat basically takes a vow that, oh Lord, I assure you by taking a vow in your name and the name of your great father, King Dashrath, that I won't take any ferry charge from you. Now, at this juncture, Lakshmanji lost all his temper again. That this is a deal between you and us? Why are you dragging my father into it? So basically, Kevatji is not taking vow in the name of Lord Ram or that in the name of Dashrath, but the underlying principle is just as Lord Ram takes a resolution and establishes that task, just as Dashrathji takes a resolution and accomplishes that task. Similarly, even Bhishma takes a vow and establishes that vow. So similarly, Kevat is attempting to say that I take a vow for sure that I shall not charge you any charge to take you across the river. So both Lord Ram and Dashrathji are people who would never leave the truth to be compromised. Dashrathji left his body, but he kept his words true by offering the two benedictions and boons to Kekai. Similarly, Lord Ram took the resolution to be abandoning the state, the Singhasan, and banishing himself into forests. Now, Lakshmanji had lost all his anger completely, and then Lakshmanji takes out an arrow and is almost about to place it on his bow. That immediately at the same time, Kevat goes on to say, what is there on your screens?
दासनाथ कृपाल पारु उतारी हो। लक्ष्मण जी क्रोध करते हुए अपना बाण निकाल दिए। केवट कहता है बरु तीर मारहूं लखन पे। बरु मने भले, लखन तीर मार दे, लक्ष्मण मुझे तीर मार दे, मैं मरने के लिए तैयार हूं।
Kevat says, O Lord Ram, I am ready to be killed by the arrow of Lakshmanji, but for sure I shall wash your lotus feet. I am not deterred by the arrow of Lakshmanji. I am ready to be killed, but I shall not give up on the idea, the thought of washing your lotus feet. So imagine, dear devotees, Kevat had staked his life that he is ready to be killed at the point of the arrow of Lakshmanji, but I would not give up on the idea of washing the lotus feet of the Lord. So devotion is all about what? Placing yourself at any point of time at stake, but to serve the Lord.
कर धरे सो पेठे यही माही। ये भक्ति का जो घर है, ये भक्ति का जो
The house of devotion is not the house of your relatives, rather in the house of devotion, on the path of devotion, one must be ready to behead oneself. And that's why it is also said,
हे कुहाड़े जेना अंगड़ा काप्या, हे कुहाड़े जेना अंगड़ा काप्या, क्यारे मड़ा भगवान मेरा मन माया न मुके अने चेलयो सतना चुके। हम कह तो देते हैं दधीची ऋषि ने ऐसा काम किया। दधीची ऋषि इतने बड़े संत क्यों?
So we have heard about the story of Rishi Dadichi, Saint Dadichi, who had staked all his life, his full body, and in this manner, Lakshmanji was about to kill Kevatji. And the moment he was about to kill him, Kevat said, that, "Oh Lakshmanji, I know how do you kill." So it was a situation that he almost placed the arrow close to his chest, that, "Oh Lakshmanji, kill me. I know how you kill." Now Lakshmanji is confused and he exclaims, "What do you know about me? You know too much, isn't it?" Kevat replies, "When you were in the cosmic ocean in the previous birth, you were there in the form of Anantashesh, and I was the turtle. And being a turtle, I wanted to touch the lotus feet of the Lord, but Maya Sita did not allow me. And when I went towards the face of the Lord, you had pushed me strongly that from the cosmic ocean I came to the earth and I became an individual human being. Your attack, made me transform into a human being from being a turtle. And now you have appeared as Lakshman and you want to hit me." So earlier, from turtle I became a human, and today I'm at the bank of river Ganga, and Lord Ram and Devi Sita are themselves here on the banks of river Ganga. Then I do not even imagine, I don't even know what all exalted level shall I reach after being hit upon by you. So come on, come and kill me. And perhaps, imagine if Kevat would set Lakshmanji aside and address Lord Ram. "Oh Ram, what is this happening? On one hand, you are asking me a favor to bring my boat towards you, while on the other side, your brother is threatening me with his weapons. And can there be a situation in any way wherein you see that you can ask for a favor with weapons in your hands?" So, for example, we all engage in book distribution. We would not be carrying a pistol in our hand and asking, "Who needs Bhagvat Gita? We are distributing, otherwise I'll shoot." No, that should not be happening, isn't it? So, Kevat is raising a question to Lord Ram, that when you're asking me favor, "O Ram, how is it possible that your brother should be threatening me with his weapons? And if Lakshmanji wants to kill me, I'm ready to be killed." Then Lord Ram replies, "O Kevat, my dear Kevat, you are ready to be killed. You're not afraid of dying, but then what shall you achieve by dying?" Kevat said, "O Lord, I am least worried. I am least concerned of being killed. Because even if I'm killed, yet I will become immortal." Because, and it's been beautifully said by some poet, that I shall die at the hands of somebody who is the dear of Lord. I shall die where there is the bank of river Ganga. And why shall I die, or what shall I die for? For having made an attempt to wash the lotus feet of the Lord. So let's say if people would talk, where did Kevat die? People would say that Kevat died at the banks of river Ganga. So Kevat says it would be my fortune. So if somebody would be asking that why Kevat was killed, then people would say that Kevat wanted to have the Charanamrit, the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord, and hence he was killed. So where was he killed? At the banks of river Ganga. And why was he killed? Because he wanted the nectar of lotus feet of the Lord. So if the question would be who killed Kevat, then the answer would be Lakshmanji, Anantashesh. Then that the fact that Kevat was killed, who would be the witness of the killing of Kevatji? The witness would be Sita Maya herself. And the next question, if I would die on this bank, then, oh Lord, you should certainly make a samadhi for me here. And people would say, people would offer their obeisances to me. So after I die, you would have to do something to burn me on the funeral pyre. And here there are only 3 people. So here the first shoulder shall be given by Lakshmanji, Nishad Raj, and Lakshmanji. So who would do my last funeral rites? You alone. You will be performing my last rite. So people would say that my funeral rites were done by Lord himself. My children are yet very young. They cannot do my funeral rites. So if you do my funeral rites, then after that, you will have to stay at least till the Teravi. So at least for 13 days, you'll have to stay here. So if you would do my Teravi, then you'll have to do my Shrad. That means you shall have to stay 1 year. So, oh Lord, right now I'm just talking about you to stay only for a day. But if I am killed, then you'll have to stay here for 1 year. Hearing this, Lakshmanji kept his arrow back. So when I should attain so much by being dead, then why should I let this opportunity and great fortune go and frizzle away?
समूह के सविनीत सुनो रघुनाथ सनाथ निहारत है अपराध यही इस दास का है प्रभु के पद पद्म पखारत है अपराध यही इस दास का है प्रभु के पद पंकज पखारत है इस दास का अपराध क्या तो प्रभु के चरणों को धोना चाहता था
So what would have been crime of the slave that he wanted to wash the lotus feet of the Lord? Now Lakshmanji gave up the idea of killing Kevat. So a devotee is one who would be able to get the call, the death, withdraw his arrow. And that is who a real devotee is. And that's where I recall Dhruv Maharaj. So Dhruv Maharaj kept his feet on the forehead of death, and with the associates of Nand, with the associates of Lord Nand and Sunand, he went on to reach the Lord. Try to understand 2 words here in the second line.
यह 3 शब्दों से क्या सूचित किया जा रहा है सीता लक्ष्मण और राम तुलसी माने सीता
So Tulsi here stands for Sita Maya. Das refers to Lakshmanji, and Nath is symbolic of Lord Ram.
अब क्या कहूं भक्तों की ये शैली होती है कि वो जैसे तैसे भी भगवान से अपना नाता जोड़ देता है
You see, a devotee shall always have this talent that somehow or the other he would be able to establish a relationship with the Lord. So some people might say that Tulsidas ji has written his own name. No, he is just attempting to establish his relationship with the Lord. So this word Tulasi is basically Lord Ram. La means Lakshman and Sa means Sita. So Shri Tulsidas ji is a slave to such Lord Ram, Lakhan and Sita Maya, Tulsi Das. So Kevat is completely in a strong state of mind and decision to watch the lotus feet of the Lord. Imagine if somebody else would have been there at the place of Lord Ram, that this person might have thought that, okay, fine, today is the day of Kevat, and because every dog has its day, so maybe I will get a chance someday and then I'll take care of you and settle your scores. But what is going on in the mind and heart of Lord Sri Ram, that is what we must try to understand. So the fact that Kevat is completely fixed and determined to watch the lotus feet of the Lord. So what was going on in the minds and hearts of Lord Ram is there in the sloka at the bottom of your screens.
सुनी केवट के बैन माने बचन प्रेम
So listening or hearing at the words of Kevat.
केवट के वचन कैसे थे प्रेम से लपेटे हुए.
So the words of Kevat appeared to be full of love, even though they were quite illogical and unusual. So the words of Kevat were full of love, even though they were unusual. So one meaning of this is that there was no linguistic skill in the thoughts expressed by Kevat ji, but they were full of love. And even if they were unusual words, but because they were filled with love towards Lord, hence Lord would always love them. See, Kevat is being so simple and easygoing, which is what is always loved by Lord. So once it so happened that there was a katha in Rajasthan, Mahatma ji was delivering the katha. So there was a person who was attending the katha that his mother was not in a state to travel. So this son requested the saint that, "Oh Prabhu, oh saint, my mother is not in a position to visit you, so I request you to please come along to my house." So this old lady, this mother of this person was too old-aged and she was not in a state of mobility. So the son takes Guruji to his house and tells his mother that, "Oh mothers, look, Guruji has come here." And he spoke into the ears of his mother that Guruji has come to their home. So this old lady said, "Oh Guru, I offer my pranam at your feet." And the feet, the term used for feet was that of the one which is used for animals. Now Guruji said, "Oh lady, is this the way to be talking to a saint?" you shall go to hell because of this act of yours. Now this old lady was so simple and easy, who wasn't aware of hell. Then this lady said, "Oh my Lord, oh great saint, we're not that fortunate to be going to hell. We're not that great. Only great souls like you can be deserving of going to hell." Now the saint burst into laughter because of the simplicity of this aged female. Now, when we talk about simplicity, I'm reminded of our Guru Maharaj, Param Pujya Radha Govind Goswami Maharaj. I have been a witness in his life. You see, he had become a brahmachari right from his childhood, and he stays in Vrindavan. So the story goes like this, that after the Bhagvatam Katha, he went in for prasad and everyone was attempting to have prasadam in a line. And some foreign devotees sponsored prasadam. And this foreign devotee had said that Chinese noodles be served to all devotees. And Gurudev never had noodles. So because he was a sannyasi, so he was made to sit first of all. And because of being a sannyasi, he was first to be served the noodles. So for the first time, Maharaji saw these noodles, he got up and exclaimed that how come so many earthworms have come into my plate? The person sitting next to Guru Maharaj pulled Guru Maharaj down to sit that, "Oh Maharaj, these are not noodles, but these are actually noodles and not the earthworms." Guru Maharaj exclaimed that, "I can't even see this. How is it possible that you consume it?" Simplicity. Sadhus are always very simple. Once Maharaj arrived in America and he went for meals at some devotee's place, and Mataji prepared a pizza with a lot of love and affection, and she presented a pizza before Guru Maharaj. And he said, "Oh Maharaj, pizza." Now, Guru Maharaj interpreted pizza means P and Ja. So Guru Maharaj was confused that how to drink this pizza. So Mataji again came after some time and asked, "Oh Maharaj, you have not eaten up the pizza." Then Guru Maharaj said, "How is it possible for me to drink this, what you have served? Because you said pizza." So the words of Kevat, full of love and affection, went on to give immense happiness to the Lord. You see, many times it so happened that Kevat kind of people eat into the mind and heart, and many people attempt to get rid of them. So once a guest appeared in a family, had the lunch, and the host was very much perplexed that how do I serve him the lunch and the dinner. Don't know when shall he stay, till when shall he spend time here. So he told his daughter that you should come to me when I'm sitting with the guest. So the daughter appeared that, "Oh father, what shall you eat in the evening?" Then the daughter said, "Oh father, what shall we have in the evening?" The father, as he had set the plan, said that we are not demons, we have just had a lunch. We shall not eat again and again. But if the guest feels like he can certainly have the meal, can cook for him, the guest replied in affirmative that no, he does not even want to have the meal further.
भोजन करने किसी के घर पर गए, घर वाले ने बहुत सुंदर भोजन बनाया, लेकिन माताजी पापड़ परोसना भूल गई। और आप
So
बहुत बड़ा सिद्धांत है।
sometimes it so happens that when even we are called, for having some prasadam, some meals, that you are served meals worth millions, but if you're not served a papad, which is not that worthy, but still that the meal remains incomplete without that papad. So the saintly person said, "Oh Mata, it had been a great blessing that I had darshanam of you, because when I was on the way, I saw a big snake." Yes, Mataji, the snake was so huge that it ran from here till that papad. And Mataji got reminded of the papad that I was about to serve you papad, yes. So in this way, actually, Kevarji was manipulating to get his things established. And that's how he was talking. But sometimes, even if you manipulate, things are not established. Once a guest arrived at home, one day, second day, and third and fourth, and he wasn't giving any indication to leave also. And the family members was just contemplating how to get rid of the guest. So the host now had a meeting with his wife that this guest who has arrived is not showing any indication to go back. The wife rebuked her husband that if he is serving him so strongly all the 3 times, then why shall he leave? But the husband said, "Don't rebuke me, but share with me the plan to ensure that he leaves the house." The wife replied, "Fever." So the wife said, "Fever, if you're under fever, or that if you're under cold, or that a guest arrives at your home." So there's only one solution to it. So the wife says, if you're suffering from fever or cold, or that you have a guest at home, skip the meal of one time, and that everything shall go fine. But the husband replied, "How is it possible for us to say that there shall be no meal? So let's do one thing. Let's engage in a quarrel and conflict for name's sake. And that in that conflict you say and you declare that you shall not make the meal, you will not prepare the meal." So the guests were sitting outside, and both husband and wife started putting on a show of a false conflict and quarrel. So the guest was sitting outside, and while quarreling and conflict, the wife said, "Okay, if you would fight so much with me, go away. I shall not make the meal and prepare the meal for you." The husband also said, "Okay, fine, I am not dependent upon your meal." And the guest who was sitting outside started thinking that he shall not get a meal today. He picked up his bag, and the guest left from the house. The husband and the wife came together, happily found that the guest has left. But the wife was still upset. And the husband asked, "Oh, my dear wife, why are you still upset? I wasn't rebuking you in real sense of the term. It was just a show." The wife replied, I was also not annoyed in the I was not annoyed in the real sense of the term. I was only putting a show. Then the guest behind the door appeared and said, even I did not go in real sense of the term. Even I was putting up a show. So you see, this is the age of Kali Yuga in which all such things happen. So what Kevat said, Kevat was making a request in the words loaded with love and affection. And hearing the words of Kevat, Lord Ram started laughing strongly, and that he felt really, really happy hearing the words of Kevat.
जो रंक की भी घड़िया खुशी से गुजार दे, दुख की भी घड़िया खुशी से गुजार दे, यदि दिल मिले तो ऐसा मिले. So भगवान रामचंद्र
So Lord Ram was too happy with Kevat. So once a man approaches a saint that, oh saint, I am now fed up with all these problems. Please make me happy. The saint offered a solution that, don't you worry, do one thing, that you stay away from shan and fame and you will not be in trouble. So the problems in this world exist only so long as you don't stay away from shan or pride. So the moment you're away from pride, from fame, that you are in trouble. So most of the time it is the false ego that you suffer the problems in this world. So the false pride, the false fame, the false ego, until you do not distance yourself from that, you will be in trouble. The moment you distance yourself from this, you would be free from all problems. So Lord Ram is bursting into laughter hearing the words of Kevat. And bursting into laughter, he would look at, Lord Ram would look at Lakshman and Sita Maya. And 15 reasons have been given that bursting into laughter, Lord Ram is looking at Sita Maya and Lakshmanji. So the first reason is that perhaps Lord Ram is attempting to tell Lakshmanji and Sita Maya that when I am laughing, you should also be laughing. And then Acharyas have given wonderful reasoning behind all this. So we shall continue with all this. And tomorrow for sure, we will get the lotus feet of the Lord washed by Kevat for sure. You have been having wonderful and patient hearing. So I express my strong, heartfelt gratitude to each one of you. Especially I extend my greetings to every member of the Patni family for having organized this beautiful katha in the loving memory of Damji, Devji Baiji. They, Damji, Prabhuji, had served the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, and because of the mercy of Prabhupada upon Devji, Damji, Bhaiji, we all have become fortunate and blessed to become a witness and listening to this beautiful katha. We have all become so fortunate to be listening to this katha organized by this family. So with this, we will close the day for today and we shall meet tomorrow for this katha. Hare Krishna.
निताय गौर प्रेमानंद